So this is a hard video to make because I like to focus on solutions as opposed to just the problems. But sometimes to come up with the solution for the problem, we have to look at what went wrong. And this video has been requested more than once, so here it is. And I warn you now, this is uncut, unfiltered truth. So if you're feeling a little bit sensitive, I recommend coming back to this video at a later date. But if you're feeling strong and you're ready to hear what a guy will never tell you for why he left, then stick around. Before we get into that, you know I love having our one-to-one sessions with you guys, which I've having more recently. So if you want to get your first session, just click the link below. 6 reasons why he left you. The first reason is he didn't trust you to be loyal. Either you cheated on him, either you cheated with him, or maybe you cheated in previous relationships in the past. Sexual fidelity is one of the most important pillars for a man when choosing a woman long term. Because the last thing a man wants is to find out that the kids aren't his. So that any suggestion that a woman is going to bring a much higher risk for that to happen is very difficult for him to accept. Maybe you shared that you cheated multiple times, maybe you had sex with him very, very quickly. These are things that guys think about, you know, how your relationship is to sex. Now, a lot of women do ask, oh, why does me having sex with him quickly affect how he thinks my loyalty would be to him? Well, as we know, relationships go up and down. You have some great times in the relationship and you can be going through some bad times. Now, if a guy met you at a club and he went home with you and slept with you that same night, imagine if you're in a relationship, you're going through a bit of a rough patch and you say to your guy that you're going out with the girls. He'll know that you're fully capable of meeting a very attractive guy and having sex with him that same night. Because the thing is, men know that when you go out with your girlfriends to a bar or a club, men know that other guys are going to be sexually pursuing you, that you're going to be attracting a variety of men who want to take you home for the night. And some will be more attractive, some will be more confident, some will be better stylish dressed, some will earn more money than him. This is how a guy thinks. Whereas if you're the kind of girl that it takes much more of an investment before you're physically intimate with someone, he'll know and trust that when you go through a bit of a rough patch in your relationship, which is inevitably going to happen, he'll have faith that you'll be faithful to him. That you're not the kind of woman that can go out there and just jump on another man because you feel like it. That is every man's worst nightmare. And a big difference between how men and women choose their partners. Men don't care about getting the girl that every other guy wants. Men care about getting the girl who will choose him every time. Let me give you the female equivalent so you can understand what this feels like really for a guy. You telling a guy that you've cheated multiple times in previous relationships before is the same as a guy saying to you that he likes women but he's had sex with a guy before. Now, you know that ick you just felt? Because you instantly think, okay, well, maybe you're actually gay and you're using me as a cover-up, or wow, I only had to worry about women, but now I have to worry about men now, and it makes you question the security of your relationship and trust in that. That is exactly how men feel about women who have been disloyal. Look, hey, you asked for the truth, I'm giving it to you straight. The next reason why a guy might have left is that he just met someone else who was better suited. We can be dating someone and getting to know them, but unless a guy is in a committed relationship with you, he is most likely open to dating other people. And I always say, assume that he is dating other people. And you guys may have been having a really great time, but it can happen that you're building something here and he's really enjoying what this is, but then you meet someone else and you just click. And the chemistry is there, the emotional connection is there faster, and sometimes it happens. This is just part of the free market, the free dating market that we live in. It's not because you did anything wrong, it's not because he did anything wrong, though a lot of women do think, okay, well, if I'm dating a guy, then he has to be exclusive to me the way I am to him, which very rarely happens. But 9 times out of 10, and this goes for men and for women, and I'm sure you would have done this at some point yourself, where you were dating a guy and you met someone else and then you started to fizzle things out because you met someone else who was greater for you. Now, this is something that isn't in our control, so it's not worth you stressing over, oh, is he gonna meet someone else? You just be you, give what you have to give, and if it's meant to be, it'll happen. This next reason why he left is that he was never taking you seriously. He may have been spending time with you, but really, you may have just been a sexual option for him. Now, it's possible that the reason he wasn't taking you seriously could have been a whole loyalty thing, which we've mentioned before already. But then he didn't leave yet because he found you very attractive and he wanted to continue having sex with you. So then he continued to do that until it got to a point to establish the commitment. Then he was like, okay, I'm out. Or the other reason that he wasn't taking you seriously, and I don't like to say this, but I have to say this because this does happen and we have to keep it real. Maybe he was a little bit out of your league. When guys are just looking for sex, their standards in attractiveness are much, much lower than when they are looking for a commitment. So to put it plainly, a guy whose attractiveness we would rate an 8 out of 10, he would happily be having regular sex with a girl who maybe you would rate a 5 out of 10. But he's only spending time with her to have sex with her, using her as a sexual option where he was never really open to committing to her in the first place. Because ultimately, guys like freedom and they like sexual variety, and she's providing both of those things. Which is why I always say to women, you have to understand and recognize that a guy's real investment isn't through his sexual attention, it is through his non-sexual attention. It's not Netflix and chilling, it's the lunches you have, it's the coffees you go for, it's the walks that you go on. If every time you see him, you're having sex and it feels almost impossible to get him into a situation to spend time with you where sex is off the table, then he is most likely not taking you seriously. This next reason why he may have left is he didn't feel respected. Respect is arguably more important to a man than love. And if you did anything that may have disrespected him and your relationship, especially in public one too many times, he may have called it quits. And also it's important to note, and this obviously doesn't excuse this behavior, but actually a lot of physical abuse from men to women in relationships comes from them trying to regain respect. He didn't get respect from a woman through love, so he uses physical abuse to get respect from her through fear. Now, of course, like I said, this isn't an excuse. Physical abuse is never okay. But I'm just using this to highlight to you how important respect is for a man within a relationship with the woman that he loves. Honestly, for some men, respect is more important than being liked. Because if you're disrespected by people who dislike you and like you, that means everybody walks all over you. Now, granted, you may have lost respect for him for very legitimate reasons, like maybe he isn't pulling his weight, maybe he says he's going to do something and he doesn't follow through, maybe he's not a man of his word. Maybe he doesn't have integrity. Maybe he lies a lot. But then you can't really love a man that you don't respect. If it gets to a point where you have very little respect for a man and you really don't see it recovering, then it's best that you leave before he does, because the relationship is already over. The next reason why guys leave is that he wasn't ready to settle down. The truth is, a lot of men who are young, attractive, tall, successful, confident, have charisma, intelligent, funny, all these things, guys who are very desirable and who have a lot of options, 9 times out of 10, they won't be looking to commit to any woman until they're ready for their next stage in their life, which comes from choosing someone to build a foundation with, for a family at some point, and maybe build a legacy with. Timing with getting commitment from men is very, very important. He may really like you, enjoy spending time with you, and the sexual chemistry can be insane. But if he's not in a place where he's ready to commit, then it's not going to happen. He'll indulge in spending time with you and enjoying it for what it is. But when it gets to the point where it's time to, establish the relationship and the commitment, that's when he tends to leave. Now, there are exceptions to the rule. Like maybe he's moving to another country, maybe he just suffered a loss in the family. Anything that causes an internal shift, that can play a part as well. When things like that happen, it really does make you look and reflect and question everything in your life at that point. And it can be hard to understand certain things without taking a step back and allowing space so you can look at things objectively. But if nothing like that has happened in his life, then it's usually because he's not in a place to commit right now. This next reason why guys leave is that you tried to change him too much. Sometimes some women can take on a guy as a passion project, try and mold him to becoming the man that she wants him to be. Now, while we all have areas that we can grow in ourselves that can improve towards the relationship that we're in, there's a big difference between changing someone and helping them in an area that they struggle in. And the difference between change and help is request. If he is asking you to help him in a certain area, if he is inviting you to give him the guidance for where he wants to go. But unsolicited help, that's just trying to change someone. And if you're trying to change him too much, ultimately he's just gonna feel that he's not being accepted for who he is. He'll think, why the hell is she with me if she's trying to change me so much? And then what can happen is that he then meets someone else who accepts him in his entirety, accepts him for all his strengths, all his flaws, the whole lot. And people in general will always go to where they feel welcomed and accepted. So keep these things in mind. I hope that answers some of your questions, and if you're looking for a guy who sparks up your love life, make sure you subscribe to this wonderful tribe. And as always, keep it slick. Pow.